What's up guys, it's Zenith bringing my thoughts on the Lightshield controller case. The Lightshield is a current Kickstarter project by fellow Melee player Max Chung. Now I actually reached out to Lightshield myself after seeing the player L post about getting one of these on Twitter, just because it looks so cool and different and it's something I never heard about before. Now Max has sent out test models of these to different pro players and he has gotten good feedback from them, players such as Wizrobe saying that they love it. Now in order to get one of these, it costs the equivalent of $20 in funding to receive one, and unfortunately you won't be getting one until mid-early 2018, which is a shame, but Max has said that depending on how funding goes, he might be able to release them even earlier. Now he is a decent distance away from his goal currently, and I believe that's due to in part by just not having proper exposure. Like I said, I'm always looking at GameCube controller stuff and I'd never heard about this before. So I'm here to talk about it and hopefully inform people on just what this product is, because it is a great case. If something looks like it interests you, I'll have the link to the Kickstarter in the description below, where you can learn even more about it or fund it if you so choose. Now I'm not here to talk about the Kickstarter campaign, I'm here to talk about the actual product and how it stacks up against the other controller cases in the market at the moment from a consumer's point of view. Now just like with controllers, I happen to own a lot of controller cases and I do use them a lot, being a college student that frequently will throw his controller into his bag to travel around campus to different maybe Smash Fests, events, or different tournaments. Now the unfortunate thing about cases is at the moment there isn't an incredibly diverse selection of cases on the market, because cases are really kind of like bags that you use to carry anything around in. Every bag kind of does its job in carrying stuff around, just like every case does its job in protecting your controller. But depending on what you're looking for out of your bag, a tote bag or a backpack, a gym bag, might serve your needs better than a different kind of bag. The same thing applies with controller cases. Depending on how you want to travel, how you pack your controller, different cases will be better or worse for you. Now the reason why I'm so happy with this product is because at the moment it fits all my travel needs the best out of any controller case, and I'll explain why that is and why I think a lot of other players will fit into that category as well.
As I have said, I do have many cases from many companies, and this isn't a shot towards any of them. They're all great, they all just cover different needs a player might have when carrying their controller. Each does something better and worse than the other, and the next thing I may cover may just be going in depth with that. When it comes to the Lightshield, its strengths are pretty obvious. The first thing I love about it is its small form factor. Not only with the volume of the case, but also the shape. Like I said, I'm a current student who carries his controller in his backpack often, thus I am looking for the smallest form factor possible. This isn't just exclusive to students, I'm sure many people out there would like to have the smallest case possible, and the Lightshield covers this very well. It is something so important to me that I would actually even sacrifice effectiveness of the case's protection to get it smaller. Luckily though, the Lightshield still covers effectiveness of protection. In fact, within a certain area of protection, it does a better job than any other case I've seen, and that's button and control stick protection. It's in part because the design allows for the controller to rest in a shell securely without the buttons having contact with the case itself, shown by this example case with cutouts to show the gap that exists between the buttons and the analog sticks and the case. It also has to do with the way the case was made. It is a specially 3D printed molding of very hard plastic called polycarbonate. Unlike other cases, this one is rigid. It is a solid shape that allows for the guarantee that this case won't depress with pressure and apply that pressure to the buttons. I absolutely love this feature because so far it is the only case that guarantees that peace of mind knowing that your buttons and control sticks have zero pressure on them. Lightshield claims that the material is so durable that it is virtually shatterproof, and while I have not tried drop tests myself, I do have trust in its durability. No case will fully protect you from high drops, but the Lightshield has no padding, so I would have to assume that shock would affect the controller harder than it would in a padded case. It is a trade-off and not a bad one, just because I cannot honestly see how many times a player will drop their case from a high platform, but it's something to take note of. The second thing about the case I love is simply its ease of use. This may sound incredibly stupid for something as simple as a controller case, but hear me out. The quickest way to store my controller on a regular basis is simply by wrapping the cord around the controller. Almost everybody does this. There are different ways to do this, however having a longer or shorter cable can lead to some of those methods being easier or harder to do than others. With most of my cases, I would use them only if I know I'm going to be traveling for a long period of time, because it takes a relatively long long time, in my opinion, to pack. I wouldn't be doing this if I'm just swapping from setup to setup, or if I'm just walking around the venue in my downtime. Nothing wrong with that, but your controller is exposed during that time. It's just a risk that you take because it's not worth packing it all up again. The Light Shield, on the other hand, is so fast to pack up. Instead of wrapping, aligning, and packing your controller in its case, making sure everything fits and zipping it up, you just throw the case onto your controller and wrap it around like you normally would. This makes it so much easier for people like me to pack their controller. Even with controllers with longer cables, the controller adds enough bulk to make wrapping the cable around vertically as quick as it would be wrapping around horizontally with no case, which is how I had to start wrapping my wire around my newer controllers because the cables are just so long. Now, the Light Shield isn't perfect. Like I said, I don't believe it will handle shock as well as the other cases. The design of having the wire wrap around the case does save a lot of time and effort packing, but it comes at the cost of having your wire now exposed. It is also just hanging around, and if you want to secure it, you'll have to overlap the cable onto itself or use the included bendy tie, which seems primitive but works. If you're like me and you just have charms on your controller, you also have to be weary of those because they're just sticking out. I also never had issues with the cable unraveling without the bendy tie in my light travel. Another example of sacrificing a bit of protection for ease of use is the fact that the back is open. Now, the back of the controller is not nearly as important to protect as the front of the controller is, so it's not incredibly important, especially when factoring that removing the entire back allows the case to be used so much quicker and easier. The case does cover your entire controller and is deep, however, so no worries on any part of your controller sticking out. There is more than enough room and depth in the Light Shield despite its small size. It even has ample space for my raised trigger. Really, the only time I can ever see this mattering is if, God forbid, there is a leak of some liquid in your bag, or to protect it from dust or anything that you wouldn't want touching your controller, but these situations would be so rare, and the controller is more than safe, usually just being deep in the shell of the case. As far as aesthetics goes, I was never picky on how my case looked, but the Light Shield does look quite decent. The shell has a good shape to it, and other colors will be soon available. Customization through engraving will be an option, as well as customization of the logo patch in the middle. The intent there is to, in the future, have different logos or custom patches made by community artists to swap out with a standard logo via the Velcro behind it, to further the personalization of the case. The points that I made about it being very fast to use may not be as useful for someone who doesn't mind wrapping their wire perfectly every time and would prefer a more protective case. Everybody looks for different things in a case, but if you value ease of use, a fast packing or unpacking time, but an analog stick protection, and a small form factor, the Light Shield excels in all of those categories.
Max's goal for the Light Shield was to develop the most optimal controller case, and the answer to the question of if he achieved that with this design is really up to you. I know that's the most lame answer I could have possibly given you, but it really does matter what you're looking for out of your controller case. Now, there isn't one single case in the market that can do everything, but the Light Shield excels at what it does do, while also not faltering in any one category. Overall, it's an incredible little controller case, and I really hope it becomes more widely available so I can pick up more in the future. Once again, the link to the Kickstarter is in the description below where you can find out more about the product, but I do hope that you learned a lot about this product and whether or not it fits your needs, because if it does, there really is no better case out there. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Zenith, signing off.